Okay, ready?
I am.
Good. Okay, so we're in Perek Mem. Pasuk. Let's do this. Let's say Yud Dalet. We may have skipped Yud Gimel, sort of, but we're going to do Yud Dalet. Okay, so Yosef interpreted a dream, right? Fine. That we discussed last year. And then he tells him what he wants him to do. We discussed that too. That Yosef understands that the purpose of dreams is so that you can manipulate your future, right? Okay,
And
so...
he thinks that this dream of the Sarmashkim Sararishim is about him.
Well,
About
right,
Yosef.
exactly. And specifically the Sarmashkim and Sararishim gets summarily thrown under the bus
Yeah.
without any concern for his fate, right?
Right.
Okay, that was last week's discussion. Now, let's focus on Pasuk Yudal. Very difficult Pasuk, simply, and let's start with Taich. Ki im zechartani itcho ka'asher yitav loch sisana imodi chosed v'zkartani el par v'hitzisani min habayis hazeh. So I first want to just talk about Pasuk Taich, how you Taich this complicated syntax here of Ki im zechartani itcho. So here's one way to read it. It goes like this. Ki is like so, therefore. Im zachatani itcho kasher yitav loch. If you remember me being with you when it's good for you. Ki im zachati oisi itcha. It means if when it's good for you. So, meaning in conclusion, if when things go well for you, you happen to remember that I was here with you, then you should do chesed and mention me to Par.
And if you don't?
And you won't. In fact, you didn't remember. Right? We're going to
What
talk
does
about
ki
that tonight.
mean?
Right, so ki would mean something like, in conclusion, the ki is problematic.
Yeah,
Right?
no?
Right, the key is problematic. So the Rashbam says like this, and that's I think according to that reading, the key is problematic. Correct. The Rashbam says like this. The Rashbam goes like this. Yosef told him you should know Par is going to return you kamishpat harishin, and to the extent, this that I say that you're going to be back to your original influence is to the following extent. For daha. If you remember me, if you remember that I was with you, when things go well, when all is well with you again, and you do the kindness to me and mention me to Parai, then it will work. So
You're going to be restored. You will be so restored to his good favor that he will.
That's the whole thing.
He'll do this for you.
That's the whole thing. That's what Rashbam says, right?
Completely back in favor.
Right. So Kamish B'Tarish the Sarmashkim has influence, and of course you remember that from Nehemiah. Sarmashkim was able to get favors from the king, right?
Yes.
And
But there's
we'll see. Okay, we'll see. There's a lot of connections there. Basically, so that's the Rashbam says to Hemshech. Kamish B'Tarish Nesim to the extent that if you happen to remember that I was with you when everything is going well with you, and you do the chesed and mention me to Parai, it will work. That's how much power you're going to have. Okay? That's how Rashbam reads it. Fine. Rashi reads differently. I can't figure it out.
Which is an interpretation of
Right.
that you will be
Right.
completely restored to favor,
Correct.
just as before.
Correct. Now, the pasuk meant there's two things that have to happen. The Sarmashkim has to remember that Yosef was with him, ki im zachartani itcha, which eventually he does, because in Parshas Miketz it says v'sham itanu, not every, meaning he has to remember that Yosef was itai, and he has to mazgir him to Parai. That also he picks up in Parshas Miketz where he says eschatoyani mazgir.
On the other hand, in Parshas Miketz, he's remembering Yosef to Parai, and Parai then bringing Yosef out of the bar is not necessarily a proof of the Sarmashkim's influence, but only of Parai's desperation.
True. But Sarmashkim didn't do what Yosef.
Well, according to this, Yosef's not asking him to do anything. He's saying,
Sure he is. He certainly is asking him to do something because he's implying that he wants him to do it, and the next pasuk makes it very clear that there's a reason why that should happen. right? So it's not just a hypothetical,
no,
right?
No, this is case of the Armach.
Right, it's not just a hypothetical. It's a hypothetical that's being used to prove a point, but he chooses that because he wants Sam Mashma to do that, of course. Right. Okay, so now he tells him two things. You have to remember him, and he has to mazkir him, and you have to remember that he was itcha. When he does, in fact, remember him, he says V'shami tanu nar ivri, and he says Chatay ani mazkir. Till then, it says V'loy zachar and vayishkach, which could be, and some versions say this, because Yosef told him two things. If you remember that I'm with you, then v'his gartani. And he didn't remember that Yosef was with him. Now we're going to talk about this soon. What exactly?
And then vayishkach was the other part. Which
from being mazkir would be, which is also I don't know if that works.
It would be the other way around. If he'd have to.
No, v'loy zachar. Right, I hear. Okay, Veishkacheu from mentioning maybe I don't know. It's obviously, of course.
He didn't remember in the first place.
Of course, you see in the pasuk that there's a connection between Zachatani and his Gartani, right? Remembering and mentioning, so the two things go together. Okay.
Yeah.
Now he told him, Kasha Yitavlach, when things go well for you, and this idea that Mashkim is facing Toiv is picked up in pasuk Tazayin, where it says Kitoiv Pasuk. Okay, so he's facing Toiv. Now he told us Mashkim that he wants out of this bias, not just the bar. So that's you have to read the pasuk like this. He wants to get out of the bias, the base patifar, because I don't even belong being an eved. Gunav gunavti me'atz ivrim. The whole fact that I'm an eved was a gneva. I'm really I really belong in that ivrim, and I was stolen from there. So that's why I don't belong in this bias. Nor do I belong in the bar, which is a place for people who are chayte, because so therefore he wasn't just asking to get out of the bar, he's getting to get out of the bias.
And arguably, he's asking both of them for the bar and for the bias, because I was stolen, so I shouldn't be an eved. And even here, I'm not a criminal, so I shouldn't be in the bar, and I shouldn't be an eved as punishment for crime.
Could be.
Well, that's what we find out later with where he says, what do you mean? The one who stole the Gavia will be an eved, right? That's a punishment for a crime. For that.
Yeah, but here he says bar. Okay. Now, I just want to mention briefly, we spoke about this in the past, that he says, I didn't do Ummah. We have an Eoiv, Parak Laman Aleph, Pasuk Zayin, where the Pasuk talks about not having done Num stuck to my kaf. And there it says, we mentioned this in the last parak. Laman Aleph Zayin, Eoiv is insisting on his innocence. Whether anything stuck to my kapayim anymore, meaning would be gezel, then I should be punished. And then imnifta libi al isha pasuk tes, also I should be punished. So Yosef didn't do mu'umah. That means he was faithful to his master, who was layada ite mu'umah, and he was completely honest, and he was naki from the sin with the isha. Okay. So now, right. So now, the major question is, of course, what's so hard for this Hamashkim to remember Yosef? And not just that, he has to remember, if you remember that I was here with you. I would think Yosef is pretty memorable, especially he interpreted his dream for him, right? So why is Yosef at the risk of being forgotten? And Yosef says, if you remember, say it there. Of course you remember. Maybe if you decide to act on the memory. But clearly it's about remembering that Yosef was with him. It means Yosef could be forgotten, and Yosef was forgotten. What is that about? Okay? Now, good, fair question?
Sure.
Okay, so now, things are somewhat murky here, but I want to be Masad the Ramazim, meaning the psukim, and we'll see what comes out of it. See if we can make sense out of it. Okay, we're going to be looking at this parasha in light of Nehemiah, and also in light of the psukim and Kehelas. Okay, so let's start with Nehemiah. Yosef told the Sahamashkim, Kasha Yitav Lach, when things are going well for you, then you're going to be in a position to intercede on my behalf, right? Because when things go well for the Sahamashkim has influence with the king. And this we see in Nehemiah Perek Beis. Nehemiah tells us in the end of Perek Aleph that he was the mashke. And Perek Beis talks about how he brought the yayin to the melech. And he wasn't ra'al fun of. And the melech said to him, Adua panecha ro'im. That's Roy Alev. And he got very afraid. And he said to the king, Madua le'yerufonai. The city of my forefathers' graves is destroyed. Sheha'ir beis kivros avosei chareva. Right? So the king said, what do you want? And I said, so, im yitav avdecha lefanov. So, im yitav avdecha lefanov, then I could ask you for something, right?
Yeah.
So, the same thing we have over here, that Yosef told Sahamashkim, kasha yitav loch. What's the yitav loch that the Sahamashkim is going to have? Is that he's going to be back on Mashkeh, Kamish Batarishin, right? And if you're in that position, then if it's yitav lecha, that means it's yitav avdecha lefanecha. That means, why is it yitav lecha? Because the king likes you again. The king likes you again, you could ask him for things, right? Like the Nehemiah, the Sahamashkim asked the king for something, and actually we're going to see it's very similar, we'll see, and he got it, because it was yitav avdecha lefanecha. Okay, and also, of course, over there, we spoke about this, Nehemiah is panecha ro'im, right? And the king says, Madua panecha ro'im, like Yosef asked the Sahamashkim, the Sara'ifim, Madua panechem ro'im. Okay, and you remember from Kehela's Perek, what Perek was it again? Perek Hey? Perek Zayin, Pasuk Gimel. So Perek Zayin, the beginning of Kehelas, talks about all the death is better than life, right? With all we spoke about the Sar, Yosef should have focused on the Sar instead of Sahamashkim. And then Perek Zayin, Pasuk Gimel says, Tov Kas Mischoik, Ki v'roya ponim yitav leiv. So roya ponim leads to yitav leiv, which in the context of Perek Mem, Beresh, Sahamashkim Sarifim means the Sahamashkim got schoik, Sarifim got kas. Yosef thought the Sahamashkim is where his hope lies, and he says kasha yitav loch, but really kas is better than schoik. The real toiv lies in the kas. You know who got toiv? The Sarifim, by hearing that he's going to die. Why? Ki b'roya ponim yitav leiv, meaning, remember, Yosef asked them, Adu p'neichem roim, and they said, oh, we just need a pisrin. But apparently the Sarifim really had something he was worried about because he didn't speak up. So he's the one who has the serious roy upon him. And therefore he's really the opportunity for yitav leiv, because he's facing a life-changing event, the kas that he's facing death, and that's an opportunity for something special, something important to happen, something.
Right, but Yosef thought, Pirei upon him yitav leiv, they would do up Nechem Rayim Hayayim dry upon him, and the one who got the yitav leiv is Sahamashkim, and that's Sarifim didn't. But
Yosef doesn't think, right? But Yosef doesn't think that the roy upon him. Yeah. Yosef doesn't know roy upon him yitav leiv. Right. Roy upon him yitav leiv means that actually roy upon him is a good thing, right? Yeah. Right. And Madua B'nei Ram is why upset? You shouldn't be upset. Yeah. Sarifim's real answer, honest answer, would be Madua lo yeru panai. Right? Like Nehemiah said. Like we spoke about that. That's a funny question to say Madu Panechem Roim, right? And the truth is that the Sarifim's answer really was, the honest answer of Sarifim would be, of course we're right upon him, because I'm worried about my impending doom. Yeah. And that's really the Yitav Leiv. That's the real opportunity for Yitav Leiv is, and not the Yitav Lach of the Sahamashkim.
So it's not just we had a dream we need a fish stone, but rather we had a bad dream.
Right.
We need help.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the opportunity lies. And Yosef doesn't know that. Okay, so I'm just showing the Yitav Lach and the Yitav Avdecha Nehemiah and the Yitav Leiv and Kehelas. Okay, so far so good. Now.
And again, Tav Kas Mischoik, because Sahamashkim got Schoik.
Yeah.
He didn't have a bad dream. He just had a dream he didn't know.
Well, he got Schoik because he was told he had great news.
Right, but the dream was never a bad dream.
Right.
He just didn't know.
Right.
But rather the Sara'ifim actually had a bad dream.
Right.
And he was going to have the Raya
right.
Kas, and now he has that.
Right. The Gemara in Bracha says, right, L'adam toiv ein marim chalom toiv, L'adam ra'in marim chalom ra. good people always get bad dreams and bad people. David HaMelech always had nightmares. That's why I didn't sleep. But anyways, that's why I never slept one half an hour.
What does that mean?
But no, but does the Gemara tell to this pasuk? It's very good. The point is that kas is a good thing. Bad dreams are a good thing. Bad dreams wake you up. Yeah. Good dreams
wake you up to make you do.
Saying Gemara, you right? Yeah. So the Sarayim was the one who got the major Cyrus.
Good sushtel to David HaMelech. He never slept. He was always busy with good things.
But he's always with good things.
What do you mean? He got up and he died.
Right. He had his bad dreams and they were murmuring. Right. He always had a bad dream to murmur.
He got up and he learned. He got up and he died.
Yeah. Right. Okay, good. So that's the story. So that's why. Because then you're going to be good with the king. Fine. Now, okay, we spoke about this. Also good. Now, what did Nehemiah remember? Right? What did Nehemiah remember the Maisa? What did Nehemiah have to go back for?
What do you mean? What do you have to go back to?
What was Taka? Why was he right upon him? Because Ir Kivras Abayisai.
Right.
Okay. Burial grounds of his fathers. Right. Now, I want to tell you like this. You know why Yosef could be easily forgotten? But you have to give me a little patience here because you see it's all come together. Because Yosef was in a bar. And if you remember from the beginning of Vayeshev, and not just the beginning, even the last paragraph also, do you remember the symbolism of bar is sha'il, is the grave. And putting Yosef in the pit means he's in Hester Panim, means he's basically dead, right? And then he ends up with the woman who's darke sha'il besa, ragleha yardas maves, and he ends up back in the basement, right? Because he gets involved. Remember we spoke about that?
That's how he gets into the pit.
That's how he gets back into the pit. Because ragleha yardas maves, the pit is underground. Underground is sha'il, it's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, so I know why Yosef might be forgotten.
Because he's dead.
Because dead people get forgotten, right? Yeah. Now take a look at the pasuk. Kilu is dead. He's command lesa.
Yeah.
He's command lesa. Now, okay, how does that answer him? Pshat v'esachadish. I'm not sure if that concerns me. I mean, it does, but okay. I want to show you the pasuk in Keheles, which shows that this all comes together.
Where is this?
Perek Dal Tes pasuk Hey. Really, if we understood what's going on over here, we'd start earlier, but I don't understand what's going on over here. But it says in Perek Tes pasuk Ev Keheles. Ki achayim yoidim sheyamusu. Right. Ki achayim yoidim sheyamusu. V'hameisim einam yoidim me'uma. Ve'ena id lahem sachar. Ki nishkach zichram. Okay? So if you're alive, there's one thing you know, right? There's only one thing that's certain, which is death.
Yeah.
So at least if you're alive, there's one thing you know. Basically, what's the difference between alive and dead? Alive people know something, and dead people know nothing. What do alive people know? That they're going to die. Chach, they know that. And remember, that's a very important fact, right? Because remember, that's what we're talking about, the Sar HaEifim. Knowing that you're going to die is a very, very motivating, and it can change everything, right? So it's not a stamma point.
So that's the point here.
What?
Sarah Mashkim doesn't know that he's going to die. Sarah knows that he's going to die.
Right, very good. So Chaim Yodim Sheyamusu. In other words, the fact that Sarah Ephraim got a death sentence means he's alive. Because that's what it means to be alive, is to be aware of the fact that you're dying, and therefore maybe do something about that.
People do say that in times of danger, they feel much more aware and alive.
Right, and much more energized and focused, right? So, Chaim, you want to really be alive, so the idea that the das that you're going to die, that's a very important das that makes you alive.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't know anything, then he's basically dead, right? And okay, it's another way to read the pasuk. But the pasuk is saying literally is that if you're dead, you don't know anything because there's nothing left to know. When you're alive, you know that you're going to die. When you're dead, there's nothing left to know, and you have no more profit, no more revach. Ki nishkach zichram, be gone. Forgot about you. So when you're alive, it's not nishkach zichram. Why? Because you're still grappling with death, and that's what it means to be alive, according to Gal. So, right, that's the das. That's the central anchor of das.
Well, there is a fundamental truth in human existence that to a degree
that they're thinking about
motivated by
exactly.
the fact that we don't have forever.
Right, and that's what they're busy with.
Right.
That's what it's saying.
We do things partly because we know we don't have forever to
right,
do.
Right,
do them now.
Exactly. So the anchor, the nucleus of das is Yodim Shembus. That's I think the pasuk is. So then when the Sarah Ephraim got the death in his face, he's the most alive.
Yeah.
And someone who's like pushed doesn't think about death is more dead, paradoxically, right? Okay, so as you noticed, so the pasuk says Hameisim Einam Yodim Me'uma. Ki nishkach zichram. So wait a second. So if Yosef, so we have a very interesting thing over here. That Yosef, he doesn't know Me'uma. What does it mean he doesn't know Me'uma? Because he can't even figure out why he's here. He doesn't know anything. He didn't do anything. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm not sure. That's what I said before. I'm not sure what this all means. But I want to show you something. We know before we have mu'uma in Perek Lamed Tes, right? Yeah. A bunch of times we have the word mu'uma. One time is, let's say, v'lo yada itay mu'uma. Right. Okay? And here, Yosef... Right, but I'm focusing on the v'lo yada. No, I don't want to focus on the v'lo yada, because here where Yosef says, Gam pa'la sisi mu'uma, so he's basically lo yodea mu'uma. He can't identify anything wrong with him. Right? Now, you can't identify anything wrong with him, then you're dead. Because being alive means being acutely aware of the fact that you're going to die. That doesn't kehalas. Right. So if you think you don't deserve any ra, meaning you know what it means to be chai? It means to be aware of maves. Which means, you know what toiv means? To be aware of ra. That's basically what it's saying. Oh, okay. So Yosef, who's certain that... come on, that follows, push it.
I don't know if maves is ra, but okay.
Of course it's mavis is ra. It's not the chaim and tev is a mavis is ra.
Okay, man.
Of course mavis is ra. It's a chaim, it's a das tev ra. It's ra.
You're saying that.
Of course mavis is ra. No question about it. Yeah, of course mavis is ra.
Army mavis.
Right. No, of course mavis is ra.
Okay.
So Yosef doesn't know mu'uma, meaning he doesn't see any reason why he should suffer, right? Which makes him basically dead. Now, what does that mean? I want to say what
he's unable to improve himself.
He's unable to improve himself. He's not grappling with the struggling against evil because he doesn't think it has any grip on him.
Mm-hmm. It is true he didn't do anything. Except that he did.
It's true that he didn't do anything, but it's not relevant, perhaps.
Right.
It's not
relevant. It's true that he didn't do the thing for which he had been imprisoned, but he did. But we have discussed earlier that he did make other kinds of mistakes.
Right, and not just that. Why did he end up with the Isha? Because he was married Dvarim.
Right.
So
he has mistakes. Things he can perfect that are not that they're the Ummah.
Right, and perhaps even we spoke about
things he needs to learn.
The lechem Mayim Genuvim Toku and Lechem Stam Yinam, which is the trap he fell into by arguing with her that she's off limits. So he says Gunav Gunavti. Maybe there's okay, but you're the one who brought the Mayim Genuvim. The accusation of Geneva you brought upon yourself by making a matzah of Mayim Genuvim. Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to explain soon. I think what Yosef's association with Ra and with suffering actually was, and that he wasn't aware of. Okay, we'll see in Gehalas.
But Gunav may be a little bridge too far to make that exact to himself. But still, the point is that he still has something to live on, to live with, to perfect. Okay.
Right. That's for sure. Exactly. So now, okay. So Yosef is in Yedei Mu'uma, which means basically he's not animated. He's not alive, according to Gehalas. He's come on to lesson. He's not part of the struggle, right? So he's nishkach zichram. He's not interesting. When I would say he's not interesting, another way to say this is, if you look at another place in Gehalas, let's take another place in Gehalas, even though I'm going a little bit out of order here, but let's see this first. I'm going to go back to Perek Zayin soon, okay? I'm going to go back to Perek Zayin and show you the whole Perek Zayin is about this. But if you look at Perek Zayin, Pasuk Chaf, I'll show you how the context, why I believe this is talking about Yosef. But for now, I'll just mention, Perek Zayin, Pasuk Chaf, famous Pasuk, Adam in Tzadik Ba'atz She'as Tov Lo Yechta, right? So if a person says I'm completely innocent, I didn't do anything wrong, he's a very uninteresting person. He's basically dead, right? Because if you're doing anything, if you're anything interesting, then of course you're engaged with evil in some way, and you're maybe overstepped somewhere.
Well, at least you have to struggle with it. So.
Right, at least you're busy with it. I mean, how's that? Okay, we'll see soon what Perek Zayin is saying, but now I want to say we'll focus on another pasuk in Mishlei. Look at Perek Ches. Okay, so just to remind you, Perek Ches, psukim Aleph through Zion, we spoke about a lot regarding Yosef, right? About the Chachmas Adam that lightens his face, and so on and so forth. I don't have to review that. I just wanted to show you the context. That you'll see, it's not Shver that Perek Yud, the pasuk Yud in Perek Ches is Mamshech the Yosef story. It says like this: I saw buried evildoers that came out. I don't know what that means. I don't know exactly what this pasuk means, but I will tell you that Sarmashkim was a buried Rasha. Why? Because he was in a tomb. He was entombed. He was in a grave. The bar is like a kever.
Right.
It's like Shoel, right? Yeah. So he comes out from his from his kever, and he forgets. Ishtachu. Okay?
Ishtachu means they forget.
Okay, so Ishtachu means forgotten, Beseder, so maybe the Russia cover is Yosef. I don't want to call him, I don't think he's a Russia. Okay, I don't know how to make sense of the pasuk. Okay, fine. I want to talk here. I just wanted to tell that. So now it's very important. Why am I studying this too?
Is not him. Is someone else. That which
they. Yeah, I don't know. No, how can it be someone else? Who else is it? There's no other subject in the pasuk. I don't know.
If it's Agada, then you can do this. You can say
what?
The one who's in Kadosh Alechu, he forgot. Because who's in Kadosh?
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I can't make sense.
Is not
I hear. I know. I can't make sense of the pasuk. I was just telling too. There's a reason why I care to tell us too.
Okay.
Is because it talks about buried people.
Yeah.
Okay. And ear. Okay. Yosef was forgotten because he was like dead and buried, right? And Nehemiah remembered ear kivros avosai. Okay, that's what
he remembers the buried.
Right, which is a big chiddush, because normally dead people is nishkach zichron.
Yeah.
And that's why Sar Mashkim forgets about Yosef. Nishkach zichron. He's completely uninteresting. He doesn't do anything. He's like a mu'uma. He's a good dead person.
So what's the difference between the two?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm saying the theme, right? Yeah. The Nehemiah insists that he has to pay attention to the dead.
Well, we have
the air keepers of
that the Rishonim Mesim and Tzaddik V'chayim.
Right.
Nehemiah is remembering ear kivros avosai because they're still chayim.
Right.
Whereas
and I don't, like I said, I can't make sense out of this pasuk in Kalas, but it has something about buried people, Makom Kaddish, and a city. And Nehemiah remembered the holy city, which is where the people were buried. Okay, but non-Rishon, as you said. Now I want to show you, and now I want to look at one more thing in Perek Zayin that can teach us about, I think what could teach us about Yosef. Okay, let's start from the beginning of Perek Zayin, because basically the whole Perek Zayin, almost the whole Perek Zayin, we're going to dash on Yosef. At least the first 20%. So, day of death is better than the birthday. Okay, that's Para's birthday, and Yosef should have focused on the Sarah Ephraim is going to die. Why? Beis Evel is better than the Beis Mishta, because of Chayitin.
You already connected the ace and ace balance of Leda and Mavas.
Right,
so
exactly.
So what you're saying is they're the same day.
Right, the first of the two itim are Eis Lada Eis Lamos, and there's a major connection. Right. Pasuk Beis says, V'chayitin aliba, if you want someone to pay attention, then he should be thinking about Mavas, right? So that's exactly what we're talking about till now, that it's the facing Mavas which makes a person alive, and therefore makes him memorable. That's what's memorable about life, is the struggle with Mavas. Okay, Pasuk Gimel we spoke about, Kas is better than Schok, Roy upon him Yitiv Leiv. If you want to be Chacham, Yosef has to become a Chacham from being exiled. He should have his heart in the Beis Evel instead of in the Beis Simcha of the Samashkim. Better to hear Ga'aras Chacham. That means what Yosef told the Sarah Haifim that he's going to die is the Ga'aras Chacham. That's better than the Shir Ksilim, the message to the Sarah Mashkim he's going to live. Mm-hmm. Okay, now.
Well, and also the fact that he's asking the Sarah Mashkim, who's going to be the Schreik Ksilim, right? Who's going to Schreik to ask him to do something for him. He's not going to do it.
Okay, so now take a look at this. So let's see. Pasuk Yud Aleph. It says Chachma is a good thing, and it gives an advantage. L'royei shemesh. Now l'royei shemesh means people who are alive. But what are royei shemesh? I think it means those who come out of the pit. Come back to life, right? Underground, you don't see the sun. If you're in jail, underground, you don't see the sun. So the Royei Shemesh are those who come out, and they need Chachma. Yosef had some Chachma, which he was contributing to those who are going to come out of jail. Okay, but now let's see what happens. Look at Pasuk Yudalad. It talks about Yom Tova and Yom Ra'ah, and Gam Ezel Umazeh Asalikim. There's a correspondence between Tov and Ra. Al Divras Shelo Yimtza Ha'adam Achrav Mu'umah. A person cannot know any mu'umah what's coming. Why? Because Tov and Ra are corresponding. And therefore the next pasuk says, Yesh tzadik ovid b'tzidkoi. Yesh rasha marach b'ra'asai. Since there's a correspondence between Tov and Ra, so therefore, once there's some Ra in the world, the Toiv and the Ra operate in parallel. They don't operate in completely distinct from each other. Yeah. And therefore the Tzaddik could be Ovid B'Tzidkoi. Because Ra and Toiv are two sides of the same coin. And therefore if there's Ra, the Toiv also can get the consequences of Ra. And Yesh Rosh Marich Barasai, because Ra and Toiv have a dance, work together. Make any sense to you?
It's not clear what exactly you mean. You're saying that because they both exist and they must both exist in some kind of balance,
right.
Therefore they influence
each other.
They influence the outcomes for each other.
Right. And therefore all the itim on
board. They would influence outcomes. They would influence.
I don't know. Okay. I could sense a little bit what this means.
Yeah.
What it means is that Ra has an association with negative outcomes, and the Toiv only exists as the opposite of the Ra, and therefore Toiv also has to. There's no such thing as being absolutely Toiv. Meaning every Toiv is aware of the Ra at least.
Okay, so therefore they also have to have consequences.
Correct.
Consequences.
Therefore they could have the consequences. That's what it seems
to be. And the other way around as well.
Mm-hmm. That every Ra is aware of the Toiv. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I'm not taking eyes for this. I'm just telling you what it says in Kehalas, what it seems to be saying. Okay. I don't have the whole lumdus. Far from it. Okay. Then the pasuk warns us like this: don't be too much of a tzaddik. I don't know what that means. And then pasuk Yitzayin says, don't be too much of a rasha. Lama samas beloi itecha. Aha. So this is what we know. The whole parsha is about the ace, right? Yeah. The itim. The ace was 3 days, and I'm not sure where this works in about the rasha dying beloi itecha. Basically, pasuk Yitches talks about you have to have a little of both. You have to be Isaac and Tzidkas and Rishus. Because if you Yirei Elokim, Yitzes Kulam, Yosef said Yirei Elokim Ani Yorei, right? Eventually he says Elokim Ani Yorei. And he had to learn about this this connection between Toiv and Ra.
And Sichlus?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know about that. Where? Yeah, right. Yeah. So maybe Yosef is a little of both. I don't know. Now,
he says Al Tisachol at all.
Aha, interesting. That's true. Right. Okay, right. It has to be looked up. You're right. He says Al Tischakam Yosef, but Al Tisachol. Okay, it has to be looked up correctly. But at the Iker point I was showing was Pasuk Yudalid, which is that you can't predict the future. You don't know Mu'uma. So that means it's like this. Yosef is saying, I don't deserve to suffer because Gam Peleh Sisi Mu'uma. But very nice. Look at Pasuk Tezvav. It says Yesh Tzadik Ovid B'Tzidkoi. You could have not done Mu'uma, but there's such a Metzias, and you deserve to be a Tzadik Ovid because of what it says in Pasuk Yudalid. Lo Yimtzal Damachar of Mu'uma, because there's Gzel U'mazeh. So don't tell me that you have no association with Ra, because you do. So now, what does that mean? This means that even what we were saying before, it could also be true that Yosef didn't do any evil, but he knows what evil is. He came face to face with evil, and therefore he has to suffer. I don't know. I don't know the theology of what it's saying here in Kelis, but it's saying something like the Toiv and the Ra are aware of each other.
And the existence of the Ra means that the Tzaddik is not always going to flourish, and the
correct,
and the Rasha is not going to always going to
right
fail.
Now it could be because if you look a little weiter, this gets back to what I mentioned earlier. Pasuk Test talks about Chachma is the best thing. HaChachma To'ez l'Chacham more than the 10 Shalitim. Okay, so Yosef comes to Mitzrayim and he wows them with his Chachma. Ki Adam Tzadik Ba'atz Shiyas Toiv Lo Yechta. So it could be that since Toiv and Ra go together, therefore there's no such thing as a Tzadik. It's not Chayta. You could read it like that because you can't have Ra with Toiv without Ra.
You can't avoid it.
We can't avoid it, right? Because it's an opposite.
But what's the solution is Chachma? But he said
no, there's no solution. There is no solution. No, there's no solution. No, I was just showing that the pasuk is saying, on the one hand, saying Chachma is a wonderful thing, and the next pasuk says, the fact is that after Pikain, is going to be chait. Okay, so I'm saying the fact
because there's nothing you can do about it.
Something like that, right?
Don't
think your chacham is going to Don't try. Let's say Yosef, when he said I didn't do Uma, is being mischakam Yosef.
He's trying to say, he thinks it was.
It doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work that way because you're always shaykh to the ra, and therefore you're not tzaddik b'atz jasta b'lechta, or therefore you're tzaddik over b'tzidka, or maybe it's haynu hach. I don't know. I'm not committing on the psukim. And then also it says
related to the end of year?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
And then it says in pasuk chaf aleph, everything that they tell you, don't pay any attention. Don't listen to your servant cursing you. So this also could be read about Yosef, that who said diba on his brothers.
Yeah.
So therefore, he shouldn't be surprised that there's a diba against him.
Even though he thought he was right.
Did he actually do something wrong? Or is he a tzaddik over b'tzidka? Or did he actually do something wrong? Or is it merely a diba? You could read all three into these psukim here. I don't know. The answer is one or the other. Okay, let's do it afterwards. Okay. Okay. So, I think we got the point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. So basically, Yosef is in the pit. So he's like the mace. Nishkach Zichram, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Nehemiah remembers his Yerkivus of Isai. Yeah, I think we got the whole thing. Right, so Yosef doesn't know the one thing that makes a person alive, which is Yehu Musu. It's the only absolute.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know what that means. Okay. Yosef doesn't know Mu'uma. So basically that means Yosef, it comes together. It just leaves a lot that we have to think about and understand, right? It comes together. Yosef basically has to focus on the Sar Eifim, who's Yodei Asher Musu, because that's the real das. It's the real thing a person can know. By saying he didn't do Mu'uma, so he's La Yoda Mu'uma, which makes him like a dead person. Dead person gets forgotten, okay, in the pit. Nehemiah remembers, Kivus Avoisa, okay, Hafalafal, it all comes together. I want to show you one more pasuk. And two more things. In Kehelas Perek Beis Pasuk Design, there's another place about being forgotten. Perek Beis Pasuk Design, it says, Ki ein zichron lechacham emaksil la'olam. B'shekvar hayom haba makol nishkach ve'ech yom ha'sachacham emaksil. Right, so the day is coming when everything's forgotten, and there won't be a difference in the chacham and excel. Okay, what does that mean? I have no idea, but something about once they're dead, there's no difference. Okay, here Yosef had to become a chacham, not excel. And if he would have been a chacham, he wouldn't have been forgotten, right? But here it's saying, truth is, everyone's eventually forgotten. I don't know what to make of this, but
eventually everyone dies.
Right.
After that, but before that, the difference between the chacham and the chsil is based in Mishnah, and the chacham is based in Evel. He recognizes he's going to die.
Right. So the difference is they're anticipating being forgotten.
Right.
So the chacham knows he's going to be forgotten, and then he gets forgotten. The Ksil doesn't realize he's going to be forgotten, then he gets forgotten. That's the way it comes in. Okay, we have to work that out. Just showing the point about chacham and Ksil being forgotten. And one more thing I want to tell you, two more things, is that Nehemiah remembers Irkivus Avoisei, right?
Yes. And
the king gives him letters to a fellow who's a Shomer HaPardes, telling the Shomer HaPardes to give wood to Nehemiah. And this is in Perek Beis of Nehemiah, and the Shomer HaPardes' name is Asaph.
Yeah.
So just the Tushtel to Yosef, Asaf ala Kibbutz Chapasi. I don't know what to make of this, but I wanted to just show you this. This might be another connection to Yosef, Nehemiah and Yosef. Okay, and the last thing is like this. The last thing is, so Yosef is forgotten in the pit, right?
Yeah.
We spoke about this, I think we spoke about this in the beginning of Yesh, I don't remember when. There's a lot of psukim at Amais about Yosef is the Ani, the Anav, right? Dech Adav Miyatu. And I remember we spoke about this. The psukim in Tehillim about Lo Shachach Tzakas Anavim. Hashem doesn't forget. I think we spoke about the context of Yosef. Anyways, so there's Vayishkachehu, but there's Hamashkim, but Hashem is Lo Shachach Tzakas Anavim. So Yosef eventually gets remembered. Vayimiketz Shazayim. Okay, that will be all.
So